Okay, hey everyone, welcome back to The Field Between, the only Islamically permissible podcast. My name is Ahmed.
And I'm Yasmin.
And we got a lot to catch up on. It's been a minute since we've done an episode, but we're going to make it content-packed just for you.
Yes, it's been such a long time. You did one without me, so I think it's been like 3 weeks for me.
Yeah, you've been MIA.
Yeah, I miss it. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I was going to start raising a little POW flag for you, or like whatever those, I think it is POW.
If I was missing.
Yeah.
Missing prisoner of war.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's been going on?
Imprisoned by the academy, finishing up my semester.
That's not unlikely in these days.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. It's a little bit more of an actuality than a joke. I should clarify, I haven't been literally imprisoned. Like end of semester duties, finishing up like a research presentation for my department. And now I'm grading, but tomorrow is our department graduation and grades are due Saturday at midnight. So home stretch for the semester.
Are you going to the graduation?
Yeah. For my department graduation. Yeah,
tomorrow?
For sure. Mm-hmm.
You have to wear your robes?
No, that's only for like the big graduation. This is just like our small department ceremony for all like 6 of our majors.
What are you going to do for the big one? You don't have your robes.
We don't have to go to the big one. We don't normally go.
No.
Yeah.
You're just like, fuck them?
I think that people tend to go if they maybe have like larger majors, but we only have 6 of them. So it feels more special in a way to kind of connect with them at our small, Nice. I think it is like a thing you can do for service to like help out by like being a body in robes.
Yeah.
But I've done enough service, so. And I never paid for my robes, so until I have to.
Yeah, that's right. They were like crazy expensive.
They're like $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah, they're $1,000. It means a lot to some people, so that's not poo-pooing it. Like some people like I had like a friend who I remember was like saving up money our entire PhD. I just never like really.
That's so sad.
I don't think it's sad.
No. It's not sad that they want it. It's sad that they have to save up the entire PhD to get $1,000.
That was definitely the case on our stipend.
Like 5 to 7 years. And the stipend is so low that it takes that long to save $1,000.
Yeah. So no shade if that is you. But for me, for some reason, I just never really felt that into it. I mean, if I had to, I would rent them, obviously, or figure it out. But I haven't had to yet. But our little department ceremony is tomorrow. And I didn't know any of the seniors last year, but I know 2 of them now, which is like practically half of them. So that'll be fun. Yeah. Oh, actually, 2 of them I know well. But because I went to like their final presentations for their honors thesis, I like know all of them by name. So
nice.
It'll be cute.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's been going on?
A lot. I'm trying to think. So we went back to North Carolina.
We sure did.
And it was a short trip, which is kind of hard. I'm a little sad. There were a lot of people we didn't get to see, but it was still a really good trip. We got in Thursday night. Ahmed drove the whole way. And then we left Sunday morning for Thomasville. So yeah, like a weekend essentially. Mm-hmm. We were there for 2 of our friends who were getting married, which was super fun. Mm-hmm. Really lovely ceremony. And I think we even though it was short, we did a pretty good triangle tour. Like we stayed in Chapel Hill, probably cumulatively spent like half a day there.
Yeah.
We did a half a day Raleigh, went to Bolted, Ahmed's favorite bakery, which was very good. And then we spent some time in Durham. So at least we got to like see a little bit of everything.
Action-packed trip.
Yeah.
I rescued a cat.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
We were at Coco Cinnamon outside, and this lady had her cat in a backpack, one of those like little window backpacks that the cat can look out of. And then she decided to open it for some reason, and the cat just ran out.
The cat looked possessed. It was like clawing its way out. Yeah. She seemed like a really nice lady. The cat was like directly in the sun. That did not look comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think she like realized that, but
maybe that contributed to it. But anyway, so the cat ran away, darted across the street. And then obviously she, very sad and panicked, went to go after it, and then came back about like 15 minutes later and did not have the cat. And then she left her backpack with us and was like, hey, could you keep an eye out? I'm going to go back home and get some like treats and stuff. And then I like went to go look for it in the parking deck. And then she showed up 15, 20 minutes later. And then We found it under a car, and then we both kind of like worked together to get it out
I'm so glad they got it
from
out
under the
because
car.
parking deck seems like worst place for a scared cat, like just like all the vehicles and stuff.
No, it's good. Cats tend to hide. This is what I told her because she was just like, "Hey, do you know where it might be?" And I was just like, "My guess is that it's behind the wheel, like in the wheel well of a car, because that's cats run up in them a lot."
But that's so scary if the car starts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be, depending on how you drive, I guess. But yeah, and it was just actually under the wheel well of like the first car in the parking deck, so that's good, and all was good.
That wasn't even the first crazy thing that happened to you that day. That was
Oh yeah,
Friday. It was a
that was the second thing.
whirlwind.
Action-packed trip.
No, it was
Okay.
the third
I had
thing. So
my
you woke up.
Yeah, I woke up. I don't know what I was like adjusting my glasses on my face or something, and then I like accidentally dragged my thumb across my face and like scratched, like deeply scratched my nose and my cheek.
And you had an interview that day on
And I was,
Zoom.
and they were bleeding. Like I was just bleeding from my face.
Yeah.
And I just, the only other people I see with like cuts or lesions like that on their face are like people who are
Gone
on the
gone through
streets
some shit.
and like
yeah.
doing meth or
Aw,
heroin
struggling.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just, it's not generally the vibe you want to be putting out, especially during the job interview.
Especially on Zoom when the camera's like so close on your face.
Yeah. That was one of the times when I was hoping, because sometimes like Zoom and FaceTime and all these apps now automatically just put a filter on you to make your skin look better.
Which is kind of fucked up, but yeah.
And I was hoping that that would be the case, but it wasn't. Anyway, and then, so I had my face was bleeding, and then we went out to lunch, and I ordered a mocktail at this place. And
Which was a very good place, by the way. What was it called again?
Akatoon in
Yeah,
Durham.
excellent.
Yeah, it was very good. I ordered the mocktail, and when I got it, I was just like, "Oh, this tastes crazy!" Like, and also the description didn't say that it had a fake non-alcoholic spirit in it, so I was just like, "I think this might have alcohol in it." And then you and our friend took a sip, and you were like, "That's definitely not alcohol." Ahmed is
And both she and I were like
so
super in
stupid.
agreement. We weren't like, you're stupid, but we were like, oh, like,
Ahmed's so innocent.
no,
doesn't know
we're
what-
just like, oh, they've
this
made
little-
the spirits so good now. Like, you really
Yeah.
can't tell.
But then I was like, it doesn't say it has a spirit in it.
But then
on
you
the
gave it to
menu.
our other friends. This is a couple, and he tried it. And he's also, I don't think, ever like had a drink.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And then I asked the server, and I was just like, "Hey, does this have alcohol in it?" And she was just like, "Definitely not." And I was like, "Okay, I trust you." And then I guess she went and double checked with the bartender who made it, who then came running over and was just like, "Oh my God, this has so much rum in it." And I was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh shit." So like, I was drinking for the first time. I took
You
a
had
couple
like,
sips,
to clarify, you had like a sip.
but
That
I
was
started
it.
feeling it. I started feeling
There's
it.
no way, Ahmed.
swear,
you literally
I
had
started
one
feeling
sip.
it.
It's entirely
I know, I'm
psychosomatic.
serious. It's not psychosomatic. It's completely somatic.
The pure-
I don't know what it's just purely somatic.
But it is so funny to think of like what would have happened if you'd gotten drunk before your interview,
And
like
I
for
had
the
the
first
cuts
time
on my face,
in your
yeah.
whole life. And then we were all joking, like, what if you had gotten the job and we would have been like, damn, I guess this is a sign.
I did feel like it kind of took the edge off a little bit.
I can't
I might have
emphasize
to
enough.
start drinking.
I cannot emphasize enough how Ahmed like did not even have a full mouthful.
I need to start microdosing alcohol.
Like it was like the tiniest sip it has ever been seen. Yeah, it definitely didn't affect you, but
it tasted like fucking nail polish. I don't know how people drink that.
yeah.
It's gross.
But I will say, in my defense and our friends' defense, like they have made these spirits so good that it's hard to tell now. You know? The like fake ones. Like I get like
Whatever,
fake
yeah.
rosé and I get fake beer sometimes because I used to drink in college, for those who don't know, and like I mean I never loved it, but there are things I liked about the taste, and
Ugh.
they've made it really good. It's kind of hard to tell.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I just want like a little fruity, you know, like
Yeah.
like what a woman orders, you know. That's what I want.
I will say generally when I order a mocktail, I kind of just want like a nice drink that is not like, I don't want it to taste like alcohol. I just want it to be like a fun drink that's like clever
Yeah.
and creative and interesting.
Like, remember that muscadine, basil, lime,
Yeah.
shrub soda that I made? Like, that's what I want.
That was really good. Yeah. Or we used to go to Stanbury in Raleigh. Oh, we should go back there.
Yeah.
They had a lot of really good creative like mocktails.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, well, the interview went okay, but let's see, that was
In
that.
spite of your drunkenness and your face. And
real quick to recap Thomasville, we
so after the triangle, we went to Thomasville, which is where Ahmed grew up and where his parents are.
Yeah.
Why are you laughing?
I'm just thinking about how your relationship with my parents is good. They love you. But like, I don't know what happens to you when we go there. You just kind of like become so like timid and demure, and then you like you only ask for things through me. Like everything has to be mediated through me in a way that I'm just like, what is going on? Like there was mahshi that they had made in the fridge.
Mahshi is like cabbage roll.
Well, mahshi is like
cabbage.
anything stuffed, so
Yeah.
usually it refers to the grape leaves. But yes, this is mahshi kusa or mahshi koromb. I was just like, what's the name for cabbage? But I was getting some, and you were like, we shared a bowl, but then you wanted more, and you were like, do you want more mahshi? And I was like, I'm good. And she was like, you were trying to essentially get me to just get more because you wanted some, and I was like, why don't you just go get it from the?
But then Ahmed was saying it so loudly. He was like, just get it. I got it eventually.
You got it eventually,
Yeah.
but I don't know what takes over you. You've just become this like perfectly timid little.
I contain multitudes. I will say, okay, to my credit,
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of things I appreciate about your parents. The more I get to know them, the more that like I see things in them that I see in you, and that's really lovely. There's a huge like communication gap on multiple levels. I mean, you have a huge communication gap with your parents.
Yes.
And so like it's just like exponentially more for me, I think. And so I don't know, I don't feel like fully at ease. Like, you know, like not like
Yeah.
like not like I feel uncomfortable, but like yeah, I don't know if that's an
I get
explanation,
what you
but
mean.
like there's like a language gap, and then there's also like just an experience and life
Yeah.
gap that we have. And
That's fair.
but I don't know, I had some good one-on-one combos with both your parents this trip actually, which was nice.
Yeah.
With your mom and with your dad.
Okay.
But yeah, I also just like I'm very like clumsy, and I just feel like it seems so sweet, and like the main way that they show us love is like through food. That's really actually it. I feel like it's like by making us food, and like I just don't want to like mess up their
Yeah.
kitchen but like they want me to be at ease. You're right, so I should. Like, they would want me to like just
Yeah.
help myself.
Totally.
Yeah, and you actually said something that was really interesting that I hadn't really thought of, but because I was saying like I don't want them to like go out of their way. Like it stresses me out that like they're putting so much effort into making us all these elaborate meals and stuff.
Yeah.
But you were saying, oh, that's how they show their love, and that's how I feel when you make your parents do stuff for us.
Yeah.
Which
when
I
you
never
bring
feel bad about.
when you bring your parents here to like just do manual labor.
I feel like, oh, they like to help me and it's helpful. And so I never feel bad when it's my
Yeah.
parents. So that was a good point.
Yeah. We came
yeah.
to a good compromise with that though, because I don't like to overwork them or work them at all.
But it's very helpful.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying it's not helpful. I'm just saying it's like,
Yeah.
you know,
And like, I just
we
imagine
don't
that
have
one
to
day.
make them go to Home Depot and drill
First of all,
stuff
my
and
father
carry
loves Home
stuff.
Depot.
He does
It's like
love
his
Home
favorite
Depot.
place.
Yeah.
Actually, his favorite place is Costco. He
Hard
sent
to-
us.
do you think, is it Costco?
Yeah. He sent us a photo of like my niece, who he loves dearly, who was at Costco. And I was like, wow, this man just combined his two favorite things. She was like holding a large box that was like larger than her body.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Anyway.
mean, but no, anyway, you're right. It's like different when it's like your family. And I think part of like the goal over time is that like you start to be more blended and you have like your own relationship with someone's parents as much as that's possible, you know,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Other Thomasville recaps.
Factory.
Yeah, we went to go visit Thomasville Furniture Plant A, which is one of the ones where my dad worked. They tore it down. I want to say it was like last October or something. I don't quite remember. But someone had bought it, and then the building had been deemed unsafe by the city, and then there was the option of like making it safe versus just tearing it down, and I think they went with the cheaper option. But it's a massive 60,000 square foot factory. If you had seen it before, the structure, it was beautiful. Like you could just imagine if someone, the city or whatever, put in the investment, like it could have been a really cool public space. So it's really sad to see that torn down.
And your family had like a kind of personal connection. I mean, most people in town still worked in the
everyone's
factory
dad
yeah.
worked at those factories.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, so we snuck onto like that demolition construction sites. It's just, I mean, it's mostly rubble.
I have to say, I mean, obviously the factory was more beautiful, but even the ruins were kind of beautiful in a weird way. It just looks very like post-apocalyptic.
I'm actually planning on writing a piece on it.
Oh, I love that for your Substack. That'll be good. You should share that to this account too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So before we had broken in, we were kind of just like walking along the fence, and then we saw I was just like, I want something from here. And we saw this little red thing. I don't even know what it is.
I think it's like a wrench that is like, but it's
like a weird wrench that only fits.
Yeah, for something specific.
For like a star-shaped bolt or something. I don't know.
It's really pretty.
So we like found the appropriate stick to just like drag it and pull it through the fence. But then we found an opening and we went in and we walked around, and it was really cool. So we got a lot of pictures. But as we were walking, I found what's called like a Ford tri-block. It's like something that hangs from a steel beam, and then it can move around, and like it has like gears and like wheels or whatever that it can move around on the steel beams while you're in the factory, and it has chains that come down, and essentially it's like a pulley that can hold really heavy things. Like you can just dangle really heavy things from it and move them around the factory. So if you need to move around like steel beam or like a heavy piece of equipment, you could essentially do that with this thing. And it's super heavy.
It's like probably like 70 pounds, 65, 70.
It's the size of a kettlebell, but it's like really dense. It's a really, really heavy piece of equipment. And we took it with us. So I'm excited.
No, it's super interesting. If it's also like, there's like the personal connection, but I feel like also now that we live in a Rust Belt city, just like thinking about this particular time in history where like we're really living through end of American Empire, it just felt very like poignant and weird walking through the factory.
Yeah.
It was also funny because like when we were considering breaking in, because they have it like barbed wired, but then there's like massive like links in the fence, and so you're like, okay, I guess. Like,
I forgot to tell you, I walked around actually. So we went one day, and then I went back to see if I could scavenge anything else. But on the opposite side of where we went in, it's just open.
Really?
It's like,
well, that's where the construction workers go in and out, right? So I guess that's why. But that's funny.
But even at night, like after they leave, like it's just.
Oh, so we could have just like totally gone that way instead of like scheming.
In the opening, they parked like the what is it called, like a bulldozer out there, but it like doesn't. You can just walk around it.
That's
like
funny.
So it's wide open.
Like massive thing. We didn't even really walk the full perimeter initially.
Yeah. Again, it's like a massive 60,000. You saw it before it was torn down, right?
I did. I have to say though, I don't think I fully took in how big it was when it was there. Like, did we walk around it? I know we've driven by it. I don't know if I ever got out and like walked around it.
Yeah, you might not have, which is kind of a regret.
Yeah.
I wish you could have seen it.
There's another abandoned factory that we walked around.
Yes. Yeah, that was plant B or D. I don't remember.
I was going to say, I don't remember being that large.
Yeah.
But that was also cool to see. But that one I don't think has been torn down, right?
No.
Yeah. I mean, the city's population is like going down every year, so I'm sympathetic, but it's sad because they also like the factories that they have remade, for example, into like subsidized housing, because of like building codes or something, they've just kind of essentially torn down and like built around. And like in the city that we're in now and previously in Durham, there are so many beautiful factories that have been repurposed and like are really attractive housing. So this seems like the obvious answer. Though I get like obviously they don't necessarily need housing because their population is dwindling. But I feel like there could be some kind of like, I don't know. Yeah. At least one of them could be repurposed to create some kind of city life.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just everyone in Thomasville just has too much land. Like even if you live in kind of like a small dinky house, like you just and I think having that much land between people, you do lose something from like social life. And I think if the city thought more about how to get more people to live in a denser area, like I'm not saying everyone, but like some people, then maybe more things could happen downtown.
Yeah, especially if they offered like amenities within the building. Maybe they could like especially I'm thinking like recent immigrants who like end up in Greensboro, it might be cheaper to go to Thomasville. You know,
Yeah.
that could be.
Or it could have been like a massive mixed use, right? Like think about the Bach in Philly. It's like office space. It's not residences, but it's office space. It's shops. It's lofts. It's
I
whatever.
know, but there's only 18,000 people in Thomasville, and how many of them have like money for that kind of leisure spending? You know, it's just
I mean, it
hard
depends
to,
on if you get a good price point. But that factory was what? Like it was $400,000 to buy it.
right,
450. Like
right.
if the city set aside.
That's true.
You know,
You could afford to like have some of the space kind of empty.
and you could have a staged, like a staggered approach, right? Like you don't have to do everything at once, but just make sure that the structure is safe, and
That's
then like you
true.
can open up parts of it.
Yeah,
as
and
it
as it
grows.
goes. No, that would be a good model. You're right. I don't find Thomasville that spaced out. I mean, it's not like a rural area. Like it's like a small town. Like it has a downtown, and I feel like it. That's the thing that's weird about it is it kind of feels like there is a there. Like we've both been, you know, we visited some pretty, as everyone has, I'm sure, some pretty shitty towns that like don't have any kind of sense of like a center, and this kind of does.
Yeah.
But there just aren't enough people left.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So is Thomasville. I'm trying to think of anything else happened in Thomasville.
And then we the drive back was eventful.
Yeah.
We
We were driving through West Virginia, which West Virginia is really beautiful.
yeah.
Very green, very lush. It's also like, you know, pretty economically depressed. But yeah, you tell what happened.
Well, I mean, our tire exploded. It just exploded. Like I've gotten flats before where something punctures it, and never in my life have I had a tire just like absolutely just shear off the wheel like that.
Yeah, it was nuts. You did a great job because like it felt like you couldn't brake.
Yeah.
And I think the mechanic was telling us like there is brake function that's tied to the tire. But yeah,
I could brake, but
Yeah.
the car slowed down obviously a lot.
right. But yeah, you did a
because-
great job getting us over the shoulder because we were on the highway.
Yeah.
It was scary.
But alhamdulillah, like the crazy thing. Okay, so you don't know this, but the wheels on the car on our car are kind of like a sportier wheel than the standard one. And they're aluminum alloy, so they're softer, and so they're very prone to damage. The way the tire sheared off was like essentially like, except for like a very thin piece of rubber around the rim, everything else from the tire was gone, which at least protected the rim from like directly hitting the road.
Right.
Because if the rim had directly hit the road, we would have been fucked. Like the wheel itself would have been like,
we couldn't have even moved over. Yeah.
no, we would have moved over, but it would have like dented the wheel, and we would have to buy an entirely new wheel, which is a lot more expensive.
Damn. Yeah, I think the mechanic said that.
And it was just, yeah. So we were lucky that, obviously we were unlucky that the tire blew up, but we were lucky that it blew up in a way that still protected the wheel. And then turns out like the time that we were kind of slated to arrive initially
In Pittsburgh.
in Pittsburgh was right when this like massive storm that I'm sure people have heard about by now hit, and it was bad. Like people were saying like, oh, you're gonna drive through the storm, and I was like, whatever. It's like not driven through storms before, but this seemed like horrible. And
Yeah.
anyway, we ended up getting stuck in West Virginia for
3 hours cumulatively.
long enough that we missed the storm because it came and went pretty quickly. But we saw, like, as we were getting closer to the city, all these downed trees and power lines and like just power out all around Pittsburgh.
Yeah, it was intense. A few people, I think 2 people died. Alhamdulillah, no more than that, but sad that those 2 people passed. But the whole metro area of Pittsburgh, so if you include like lots of the suburbs and stuff, is like 1 million. The proper city is like 320. But in the whole metro area, like 300,000 people lost power, which is like a crazy percentage.
350.
350, that's right. And now I think it's down to like 145. Like people have gotten their power back, but still,
Yeah.
it's a lot of people without power. Like whole
Yeah.
neighborhoods are out. Yeah, just like downed tree lines everywhere. And now it's scary because it's supposed to be like thunderstorms tonight, and people are worried about like, you know, cumulative damage and electricity and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, alhamdulillah, the timing was wild, but it kind of worked out. And everyone in West Virginia was really kind. I only brought up the economic thing because when we were in the waiting room, we ended up going to a Walmart because they had like a tire I didn't know Walmart did tires, but they had like a tire section.
You didn't know that?
No, I know. I've
you
literally
never-
been to a Walmart. Like this is my 5th time my entire life going to a Walmart.
Wow.
I
knew how to navigate that Walmart because they're all laid out the same.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like this is where the pharmacy
it's
area
so
is.
large. It's ridiculous.
It's not as nice as the one that I took you to in Thomasville, right?
Yeah, that was
The Thomasville one's nice.
But I was gonna say, in the waiting room of this mechanic, like there's just like so many magazines about guns. It was like so crazy. I was like, how many gun magazines do people need to read? I was like, where the fuck are we? So there's like that, which is like honestly super off-putting.
And they're also called things like gun. It just says gun.
Yeah,
like the title is just gun
like
or
absolutely
shoot.
insane. Like shoot.
I was walking through one of the aisles. I was because again we were stuck there for 3 hours, and then this guy talks to me. He's like, "Oh, you're tall, handsome guy. Will you help?" He was just like a short, very old man, and he had like an oxygen tank and shit. He was like, he's like, "I like to read these as I fall asleep," and so he was asking me to reach to the top shelf and get him his gun magazines, and he's
on an oxygen tank and he's reading about. I hope he doesn't have a gun.
I'm sure he does.
I'm sure he does, yeah.
I'm sure he does.
But everyone we interacted with is honestly so nice. The guy, the tractor, or not the tractor, the tow truck who came to get us, the man was like really sweet and telling us about his family and stuff. And I told him I was from New York. And when he was leaving, he was like, "Bye, New York."
He just kept saying, "Oh man, time's changing."
Yeah.
Times
he had some specific points for that. Yeah.
And you kind of get the sense that you know exactly what he's talking about, but he's nice.
Was kind interpersonally. And even like at one point he corrected himself. He was like, "I would hate to live in New York." And he was like, "I don't mean that. I just mean it's not for me." I was like, "That's the same thing."
Yeah.
He was like trying to be polite.
Yeah.
And like they didn't take walk-ins, but they like took pity on us at Walmart because obviously we like had gotten towed there, which is nice.
Yeah. The other thing that was just like, yo, subhanallah, was so we needed they didn't have the brand tires that I had on the car, but they had the same size tire in a different brand. And because our car is all-wheel drive, I couldn't just replace the front left tire. I had to replace like the front 2 tires so that they have the same tread and stuff. And he was just like, "Oh, yo, we just got these in. We only have 2 left, and we just got them in this morning."
That's actually crazy.
I was like, damn, dude.
Did you say these tires are kind of sensitive? Let's not get them anymore because this is the second time we've had like.
No.
Oh, I thought you said that earlier.
No.
Oh, gotcha. That's crazy they got in that morning. That's like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, we made it home safe after all that. You were dead, poor guy, because you drove all the way. And because we had like 3 hours that were added to our trip.
It was kind of, I don't like Walmart or the, Walton family for obvious reasons, but it was something nostalgic about walking around the Walmart because I went there all the time as a kid,
You've heard my story with Walmart, right? That I was like kind of a brat and on my high horse when I was in high school about it.
What, that you judged people who went there, or
no. We had to write a paper for our history class. It's actually a cool assignment about like how an item is made, and you have to like track it through all the stages of production. So I wrote about like a fan. And then I just ended up reading all this stuff about like labor practices at Walmart, and I was like, oh my god! I was at the time where they were like locking immigrants overnight, which they have stopped doing. But
that's good.
Yeah, but anyway, I was like very like hoity-toity about it, and I was like, I'll never shop there. And then my dad like made it his mission to like kind of goad me. Like, we don't even have a Walmart in New York City. We didn't at the time, at least. But whenever we were traveling, he would like go to Walmart and like buy all the stuff, and he'd be like, "Look, Yasmin, this is affordable stuff." But I feel like in the end, he was right. That I was like, I think I was young, and I was just like, this is a symptom of a larger problem. But like, this is all people can afford, and like individually boycotting Walmart is not going to do anything. But anyway.
Yeah.
My dad and I had all these little fun run-ins about that. Like once he served me like a watermelon and he was like, "It's from Walmart," like after I ate it. I was like, okay. Like it became like its own power struggle.
Yeah.
That now I think is really funny.
That's a good bit.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the trip.
Yeah.
What do we got else?
I've got 2 updates. Neither of them are that serious. So
okay.
Should I start us off or?
Yeah, because I have 2 articles to discuss.
Nice.
I have one kind of silly item. I'll start with my item.
Yeah, do your silly item.
Oh shit, the wind is blowing hard.
Oh no. Just as we're like counting our good luck, watch us be like blown away.
Okay, so this is an Egyptian man who is on Umrah. He's at the Kaaba, and he is leaving some threatening voice notes for a friend of him who apparently owes him money. He's speaking Arabic, and it's also kind of loud, but I'll translate it after. So he's saying, like, he's like, oh, you borrowed money from me, whatever, and you haven't paid it back. And if you don't send it today or tomorrow, he says, today I'm going to hadailak. He says I'm gonna pray, like, you know, make dua for you for blessings. بالرحمة hadailak بالرحمة. And he's like, tomorrow, he's like, bukra hadailak بالخرب. So it's like, I'm going to, like, pray for your demise or for, like, whatever, right? Which is, I just love that energy. Like, he's like calling him, leaving a threatening voice notes while, like, a prayer is being said over the speakers. And then
he's like in the holiest place in the world, and he's like, let me leave this man a voice note.
It's like the first weaponization of Umrah or Hajj or the Kaaba I've ever.
I'm gonna pray against you.
He's like using the fact that he's, like, at this holy site, and that, like, I suppose God is, like, more receptive to your prayers from here. And he's just like, yo, if you don't give me the money back, I'm gonna have to tell God to just, like, ruin your whole household.
That's really funny. Also, like, this is a stereotype, not reality, but very, like, the loud talking in public, very stereotypical
just, like,
behavior.
Just yelling at the phone over people. Yeah. There was another video, I don't have it, but of I can't remember if it was, like, an Indian Muslim guy or African Muslim guy, but they were touching the stone. Mm-hmm. And I think they were kissing, and they were, like, saying, like, he was just like, $1 trillion, $1 trillion. And he just kept, like, saying that over and over. He was just like,
aww.
It's like, hey, like $100 trillion.
You have to, like, fight a lot of people to touch that. Like, it's not easy to get that close. So might as well give it everything you got if that's your biggest heart's wish.
Yeah, I guess so.
$1 trillion. I would even start with, like, $1 million.
It was, like, an insane amount of money that, like, if it existed, would absolutely, like, destroy the world economy. Like, it was just, like, so.
Instead of, like, make me a millionaire. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really funny.
Or, you know, just let my life have less, I don't know, whatever.
Something less monetary,
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's my one item. You should do yours, and then we'll get to these 2 articles that I have.
Sounds good. So my first is an update. I've been updating the pod on what I'm reading because I'm trying to read more again. And I finished a book called Careless People by Sarah Wynne Williams. She was the director of, like, I forget, like, international relations or something at Facebook. And highly recommend that everyone reads. It's not, like, particularly well written. It's not, like, a great work of literature or anything.
Yeah.
And I will say one thing that's really annoying about her narration is how much she lets herself off the hook. She's constantly, like, repeats just like, and I believe Facebook was a force for good in the world.
Yeah.
And then she, like, does whatever awful thing she's, like, helping them do. She's like, right. And it didn't seem like what I believed it would be. I'm like, girl, it's been 6 years. How are you still at this company?
Yeah.
But I feel like it's worth reading just because, like, Facebook tried so hard to, like, quelch it. Like, they really, really have tried to, like, get it banned, which is kind of nuts. Mm. And it just, like...
Well, I have to step in here and say Facebook does a lot of good in the world. Okay? Just...
Oh, wow. I forgot
saying that for no reason in particular, but... God. There's a lot of great stuff.
Oh, should I stop them with this?
No, okay. You should go.
No comment on the ways in which Mr. Ammar may or may not be compromised. Mm-hmm. No, not currently compromised. Just, like, the title Careless People is from Great Gatsby. And it's a really great title because it really just captures, like, how these people, like, want to amass power for power's sake and how little they give a shit about the world. Mm-hmm. And just, like, how weird they are. Like, how, like, money enables, like, all these really bizarre, like, little fetishes and, like, just strange instincts to take hold when you, like, have no one checking your power. Mm-hmm. I think... stuff about Mark Zuckerberg was honestly not that surprising. Like, he just seems like a tech bro, and, like, he can be annoying and entitled, but there's also moments where, like, she does kind of humanize him. But is it Sheryl
Sandberg?
Sheryl Sandberg of Lean In fame, which really defined, like, a whole generation. I think now we're kind of, like, living through a backlash to that to be like, police.
Sirens.
They're going after the May Day parade.
I think they're going after the storm.
Oh, yeah. Why are the police going after the storm?
I don't think it's the police.
It's like I'm confused.
I think.
Oh, the sirens are for the storm?
No, I think it's EMS.
Oh, I don't know what's happening.
Anyway, okay, sorry to interrupt.
No. But yeah, like Cheryl does some weird shit, like very male CEO behavior. She leaned in too hard, just like making her employees take naps with her.
Yeah.
Just like buying them lingerie and asking how it felt on their breasts, just like really weird.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like stuff that is clearly sexual harassment.
She's like, lean into this pussy.
Basically.
Right?
Yeah, I also was like,
that's
girl,
crazy. How is that not
bi? Like, what's going on? Like, are you bi? And I mean, the second part is not a question. You're also like sexually harassing the shit out of these people. Like,
has she responded to any of the stuff in the book? Or
I know she also tried to get it like banned. I think it's mostly been a legal response. I don't know if she has given any statements, but it really tarnishes her reputation in a way that I think is productive and good.
Yeah. What's the name of the book?
Careless People.
Okay, keep going. I'm going to search to see if she's responded.
Yeah. That's really all I had to say about it. So maybe we can pause for a second. But yeah, no, just would recommend that you read just so that. And actually, I was looking through on Goodreads and all the reviews are like, I read this because I heard Facebook was trying to ban it. So I'm really glad that's backfired on them.
Yeah.
Assholes.
I'm
trying to think of what else she did that was creepy. There was a lot.
The first thing that comes up is an article in Gizmodo called Careless People Made Me Like Sheryl Sandberg.
Ew. What? That's weird.
Anyway, all right. Well,
there's also just like, yeah, the complete disregard for like humanity if you're not at the top of the food chain. Like at one point, the author, who again I think is lacking some self-awareness, but that's I felt genuinely sorry for her. She like almost died giving birth and was unconscious for a few days. And when she got back to work, they were like, "You really have been unresponsive." And she was like, "Yeah, literally. I was literally unresponsive." Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, didn't you hear how I like literally was not alive? Like, not alive, but like I was, you know, in a semi-coma state. And they were just like, it was kind of wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I've got one item for you. Okay. I'm sharing this item because I think it's really funny. But I'm hesitant to say which account it's from because it's actually an account that I really generally like and like think has really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought this one post was kind of silly, but I generally really love this person. So if you recognize them, I follow them, I like them, I think they do great work. I just thought this one post was funny.
Should I guess?
I don't know if you would know it, but
okay.
It's like an account on sexuality.
Oh.
Okay.
Pervert.
What if your strongest sexual attraction was to yourself? So this is defining what is autosexual. What is autosexuality? Describes people who feel sexual attraction primarily towards themselves and often experience the most desire, pleasure, or turn on when fantasizing about themselves. This might look like being most aroused by your own image, fantasy touch, or presence, and feeling more sexually fulfilled during solo experiences than with others. And it goes on to be like, oh, you're not a narcissist if this is the case. It just means that you feel most aroused during solo sex or masturbation, and you experience self-attraction alongside other orientations. Okay, here's my thing.
It's an orientation?
Yeah, I just feel like not everything has to be an orientation. I just feel like I don't want to sound conservative. I'm really for most labels. I'm just like, does this have to be labeled? I would almost get it more if they were if like she was trying to describe something that was along, like, or like on the asexuality spectrum. Like if you only are able to like experience pleasure through masturbating, or like if you're not easily attracted to other people. But I just feel like being attracted to yourself is not like a real phenomenon. Is it?
What are we doing?
I mean, I guess like I get the idea of like you can be turned on by your own self, but usually in my experience, the idea is it's because someone else is like there's still an external validating thing, you know what I mean? Like it's the fantasy of someone else being attracted to you.
I think it's one thing to say that you are able to arouse yourself if you generally feel confident or in a moment of like, you know, appreciating your own body, or
which
like
is beautiful,
seeing it, right? Like, I don't know, maybe you look in the mirror, or maybe like you do like a boudoir photo shoot or whatever, and you're just like, yes, this like turned me on. It's another thing to say I am, in a sense that like it is my identity, someone who is attracted to myself.
Yeah, I agree.
That seems a little psychopathic.
I agree. I think there's like a distinction there. Like, yeah, you put it well. Like, it's totally normal, I think, to feel confident, and that's a great thing. And to like even look at images of yourself and be like, oh, this is a time that like I really felt good in my body, and like, you know, that makes me feel nice. Or even
to experience arousal from that. Like, I think that's you can experience moments of arousal, but like you cannot.
I have a question. Maybe this is just me. Like, maybe this is more common than I realize. But even if you experience arousal from that, isn't usually the idea, even if it's just in fantasy, that like someone else would find that arousing too? Even if it's like,
I feel like you can experience that in and of itself without.
Really I feel like for me, there's always like a third party in my head. Like, even if it's not actually there, of like, well, people would really like this, or like my partner would really like this. Yeah, it's not just like, I don't know.
No, I mean, I can see that. It kind of, but it makes me think of, you know who it makes me think of is Patrick Bateman from American Psycho. Have you seen the movie?
I have, yeah.
You know the scene when he's like having sex with that woman, but like he's like looking in the mirror and he's just like flexing for himself.
Right, exactly. And she's just like an object. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's like truly like actually in love with himself. Like you are saying you're Patrick Bateman. You know what I'm saying? Like that's who actually loves themselves, you know, like in that way. Rather than just, you know, feeling yourself for a moment. This is how I feel also about people who say they're demisexual.
Ooh, hot take. Getting into tree. I will say one thing I missed is like on another slide, she does say that this sits on the A spectrum. So that makes more sense to me. Like, I could see this being like someone who is asexual. Like, you have the ability to like get turned on, but not that easily with a partner. I just am losing it when she is like in detail talking about how to navigate this with a partner, or how this is like a valid sexuality. I'm like, not everything has to be a valid sexuality. But for demisexuality, yeah, I also like, I don't know. I just don't feel like it needs such a fancy name. Like, I definitely know that there are people who only are able to be intimate when they know someone. Like, that's a real phenomenon. Mm-hmm. Like, is that a sexuality? I guess. I don't know. Just seems like a proclivity. I mean, that's true though. There are definitely people, like, I think a lot of women are actually like that. Not all, obviously, but like there are women out there. I'm not like this, but there are women who can only imagine being intimate with someone if they know them personally, who wouldn't be able to like watch a movie and be like, oh, that guy's really hot. I could picture that, you know?
That's called being afraid of like a casual, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but I will say, in defense of demisexuals, it doesn't have to come from a place of fear. It could just be like,
okay, yeah, but I don't know. This is just like I feel like we don't, it's not such a unique thing that it needs, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to put into words why I feel like this is,
because I feel like it's not that silly. Relevant. I agree. I feel like it's like if you went on a couple dates and you just don't like get intimate until you know someone well, you don't have to be like, hey,
that's my sexuality.
I'm a demisexual. By the way. You can just be like, hey, I'd love to get to know you before anything happens. I'm like, cool, see if they're down for that, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't feel like anything we need an identitarian label for. I mean, to be fair, I actually don't know anyone. I personally don't know anyone who identifies as such, but I have come into contact with people who use the label. And I feel like it was more popular a couple years ago at a time when like everyone was just kind of like, we were really blowing up the concept of like sexuality, because like trans people were like, hey, we deserve rights. And then suddenly everyone was just like, well, I'm kind of like in the LGBTQ like medley, because I like to get to know people before I have sex with them. And trans people are just like, okay, but can we have like some like basic rights, or like be able to use the bathroom or something like that? And they're like, well, I really like it when someone is smart. I'm a sapiosexual.
Oh my God, that's actually insufferable. That one I cannot deal with. Yeah. That's the only place I draw the line. That's obnoxious as hell.
Yeah. And by the way, trans people still don't really have rights. It's just like, but we're talking about whatever the fuck this is. Autosexuality. So yeah.
It just sounds, it's funny that she had to like also specify like, oh, this is not like being a narcissist, because it sounds like the definition of like the myth of like the narcissist who's like gazing at himself in the water and like falls through, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I know people who like are demisexuality by that definition, but I don't even know if they would use that term. But like, I know that they don't like experience attraction until they know someone well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think they're walking around being like, I'm a demisexual.
I think the truth is that most people are normal, and then not normal people tend to write articles and go viral online. So
Yeah, I don't think it's a widespread phenomena. I mean, I guess like sometimes a term like demisexual, like if you read an article about it, it might be helpful in that like, not that you have to like put it on your dating profile, but you have some language to understand like, oh, this is really normal and I'm not weird for feeling this way. But
yeah. But also, like, who has ever made anyone feel weird about not being sexually engaged with someone?
So many men when you're dating. It's not even like, I think it's just the fact that some people have to like wait quite a while to get to know someone before they really know if they're into them or not. Like, I think modern dating, that can make that hard.
But not even that much, because like, yeah, okay, a lot of people tend to like have casual sex or like one night stand, whatever, hook
Not
up.
even
like,
that many
it's
people,
more it's more
honestly.
prevalent in our culture than it has been in the past. But
Actually,
like,
now I'm contradicting myself, but actually people are having sex less than ever. But anyway,
sure,
continue.
okay, but the whole going about life as a quote demisexual is something that people have done traditionally for like hundreds of years before demisexuality ever had a term. You know what I'm saying?
Totally. Yeah. And it's not something that's like, to your point, it's not something that like is stigmatized the way that like trans identities are, obviously.
Yeah. It just, anyway, I feel like I came off as caring. I don't actually. Like, people should identify however they want. I just feel like it's getting, there are certainly some like particular identities that have been maligned, and we need to focus on those intersections. And I mean that intersectionality in the sense, like the academic sense of the word, right? Not like the frou-frou kind of frivolous meaning of it. And that's important. Everyone else is just like, yeah, sexuality is like, I don't know, like, you could put a label on anything. Like, you could divide everything infinitely and be like, oh, I'm into this like weird niche thing and I like to do this, and like, that's, what's the term for that? I'm like, I don't know, just do your thing, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a good place to end it. I agree. Like, basically, if you find this term helpful, good for you, but like, no one is discriminating against you because you're autosexual. That's just your own.
I might. I might.
I would kind of like laugh if someone used this term, but if you like,
could you imagine if someone came up and was just like, I'm autosexual?
I would find that a turn off too if someone tried
I'd
to
be like,
sit
should
me
I
down.
cover the mirror? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know how to have you in my house. I don't. What?
Yeah, it would also be such a turn off if you were like dating someone, they were like, just so you know, I'm primarily attracted to myself. I'd be like,
what if they had a twin?
What am I ooh.
What if you're autosexual and had a twin?
That's not good.
That's a book right there.
That's bad, yeah. That's like a horror.
It's a weird book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Well, actually, this is a good segue into an article, just like real quick, because I wanted to make sure we mentioned it. But there's a Supreme Court case.
Shit! Right.
Happening in which a Muslim family has joined with some other families. I think one Roman Catholic and what were the other ones?
So it was a bunch of different religious families in Maryland, right? In a district in Maryland.
Montgomery County, Maryland, yep.
They want the freedom to have their kids removed from the classroom if a picture book is being read that has LGBTQ characters in it.
That's correct, yeah. So they're trying to, again, like not have the freedom to choose to not expose their kids to pernicious LGBTQ ideology. I'll add that to that autosexual as well ideology.
Right.
But anyway, it was a Ukrainian Orthodox family, a Muslim family, and a Roman Catholic family, which sounds like the beginning of like a bad joke, but they all walk into the Supreme Court and they say,
we hate gay people.
We hate gays. Anyway, so all the articles that I've seen is like the Supreme Court case happened on the 22nd of April. All the articles are kind of saying that it looks likely that the Supreme Court will rule in their favor. So when it was first told to me, it actually, because we had a friend of ours who like went to go hear the opening arguments for the case. All I had heard was that, oh, there's a Muslim family that's going to the Supreme Court or whatever. And it seemed like it was just the Muslim family. So I didn't really know it was like the Christian family and the two Christian families. However, I do feel like it's just a shame to see like these Muslims be complicit in oppressing gay people. And again, like they're pushing back against, what are they really pushing back against, right? It's just a book that depicts same-sex couples or queer couples as normal. The books aren't like, you should be gay or why it's good to have sex with a man if you're a man. You know, like it's like not that. Like they
Right.
just imagine it and portray it as like the worst thing ever. They're just books that kind of normalize non-heterosexual relationships.
Right. And I feel like what helps put this in context is like literally this is an argument that people were having like, you know, in the 40s. Like it would have been a problem if you were to have like a black and white couple like in a book. Like this shit is going to seem just as ridiculous in 20 years. Like again, like you're not saying like I think you put it really well. It's not trying to like tell kids to be sexual because that's not appropriate in any context. It's not like trying to tell your kids how to live their lives. It's just kind of showing the diversity of life, which is what literature is supposed to do. And just like, it's so impractical. Like I'm obviously not a K through 12 educator, but still just like that you would like pause your lesson to then like kick these kids out of class just sends such a weird heightened message to everyone.
Yeah.
That like something that is kind of nefarious or weird is happening. And I can imagine then you just stop reading books that kind of, you know, you just essentially promote straightness by only showing like nuclear families. And it's a thing that I think can like then so easily snowball. Like what if you show a single parent home? Is that going to piss people off? Like it's kind of like an infinite regress, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Really back to the 1950s.
Also, so the argument, or at least in this, what is this? This is in SCOTUS blog. Just kind of reading a little bit here. A federal appeals court reasoned that that on the threadbare facts before it, the parents had not demonstrated that exposing their children to the storybooks compelled the parents to violate their religion. So the parents are worried that exposure to these books is a violation of their religion. And then apparently in the arguments, one of the justices, Thomas, had asked what it means to be exposed to it. And the answer from the lawyer representing the families is that the county or the state curriculum required these books to be presented in the classroom and actively used as part of the curriculum like 5 times a year or something like that. And again, it goes back, and they're saying that this exposure to the books is a violation of their religion. And so on that fact, they should rule that the schools should not violate their religion. And if they come out with a ruling like that and it becomes essentially like the law that, you know, this is violating a religion, you're letting a very narrow group of people interpret that religion. And I think by extension, the court itself is interpreting a religion.
That's a really good point. Right. Like, especially thinking about like, I mean, and it's interesting because like these aren't really like even very parallel cases. Like you said, Orthodox, right? Like Greek Orthodox or
Ukrainian Orthodox and Roman Catholic.
Roman Catholic are both like centralized churches.
Yeah.
Like Islam does not have a centralized hierarchy.
No.
And so it is weird that like this would then create a rule when, as we've talked about multiple times on this podcast, there are queer Muslims and there are many more Muslims beyond that who are queer inclusive. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's essentially ruling in their name, which is a really weird place to put the Supreme Court in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think I mentioned this to you before, but it's weird. It's like, why is the Supreme Court kind of indirectly issuing like religious edict about like what constitutes a violation of religion or not? Like, we heard Republicans for the last 20 years be like, Sharia law is creeping, Sharia law.
Here.
And then like here you have fucking Clarence Thomas wanting to be like, oh, actually, Sharia law's pretty good.
Yeah, Islam says, like, fuck you. Who are you to say what Islam says?
Yeah.
No, like all the Sharia law scare of like the early 2000s, like really kind of reaching a zenith around like 2015 through 2017 is back in full force lately. And it is really ironic that now when it like serves this broader conservative agenda, this group of Muslims is being kind of weaponized. It's really unfortunate. Yeah.
Do you think that then if this goes one way, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know how these things could be related, but if it would in some way provide an opening, because Greg Abbott is trying to prevent all these Muslims in Texas from building their own city.
Right. Which we had covered like a similar episode to that. I forget where the last one was, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you think the court will be able to wrap its mind around like what acrobatics would they have to do to say, oh yeah, we should allow Muslims to live according to their religion in the case of when it comes to hating gay people. But if they just want to entirely separate, and build their own city and run their own school system and whatever, right? Do they have the right to do that?
Right. And the thing in Texas is that it wasn't like exclusive zoning. It wasn't like you had to be Muslim because that would be illegal. Yeah. But it was like planning for a township that had like a mosque. And apparently there's a lot of like Christian townships like that. So it's just following like Texas model.
What is it? Ave Maria, whatever, which was, it's in Florida, started by the Domino's or Papa John's. I think is one of the pizza guys.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
No, I mean, they're only gonna, it's not gonna work that way. It should.
Disney's gonna have a fucking planned community. Like, why does Disney?
But like, no, I guess like to your point, right? It's not consistent. They're only gonna kind of bring in minority voices when it like fits some kind of larger agenda. So, I feel like it would be wisest to just stay clear of being a pawn in that agenda.
Yeah.
I'm still stuck on the kind of like, what else could this enable thing? Like, it's just so crazy to me. Like, if you don't believe in evolution, like we have to have school standards. You can't just like teach whatever the fuck you want. Like you can't dictate completely what the educators teach. Like that's the whole point of sending your kids to school.
And again, the books are not like how to scissor with Lucy. Like it's fucking it's how
it's like ABCs and like you happen to have like one two, like Lucy has two dads and that's not the main plot point. Right, exactly. Yeah, and like, I mean, it's been said time and again, but I think it's worth repeating. Like, we really are, like, heterosexuality is shoved down our throats from a very young age to the point where, like, even in spite of all the advances that have been made, and there have been many, it is difficult for a lot of people, especially if you are, like, bi or, like, not just, like, straight or gay in terms of, like, sexual orientation. It just, like, you just, like, aren't able to really imagine being any other way. So it's so sad that, like, we're slipping back on that.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because of like literature and just kind of media and representation stuff. Like I think that stuff can be kind of like softball, but for this, I think it really does matter for like how you're conditioned even as a small child.
Yeah.
To be like, oh, when I grow up, I will get married and like I will wear a white dress and I'll have a husband,
Yeah.
And that's all you can imagine.
Shame on you, Damer Mahmoud and Ines Barakat.
No.
That's the two Muslim people named in the case.
We don't want to become British Muslims, y'all. We gotta stay centered over here.
Yeah. Anyway, that's what I had on that. Well, I guess we'll look forward to the ruling. It'd be cool if we could get someone on to talk about that. But
that's a good episode idea. If we could find like a Muslim lawyer or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next article.
Yeah. Okay. The next article is a big heavy hitter. I loved it. I love the fucking title. I love everything about this article.
Uh-oh.
Called Harvard is an Islamist Outpost.
Oh yeah.
It's in the Wall Street Journal. I think that everyone saw this make the rounds.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I forgot about that. That was great.
Yeah. So did you know this?
I didn't know.
Did you help
this.
establish it as an Islamist outpost when you were there?
No, I was not part of the cool club. I will say the Muslims at Harvard are pretty cliquey.
Yeah.
So if that's what makes you an Islamist outpost, but they are notoriously liberal to the point where they are a laughing stock of of many other divinity schools even.
Really?
Oh yeah. I mean, that's kind of like a joke about Harvard Divinity School is like it's all like all the women, all the gays, like all the like liberal fringes of each tradition end up there.
I gotta drop the Dale Gribble
Yes.
King of the Hill bit where he's talking about how they're surgically ordaining female ministers at the bottom of in the basement of the Harvard Divinity School.
So it's up and running. The secret lab in the basement of the Harvard Divinity School where they ordain women surgically.
Someone must have like gone there or known someone because that's too funny of a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's like very much. I mean, you know, and this could be like a whole different conversation that's not relevant to this, but like it is a little echo chambery in that it is like the far left of every tradition, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's just hilarious to think of it as like a conservative outpost.
Yeah. So this article is by, again, in the Wall Street Journal, came out April 24th, 2025 by...
Op-ed section, right?
Yeah. A woman named Ruth Weiss? Weiss? I'm not really sure. Weiss?
Yeah.
She is a graduate of McGill PhD. Let's see. She was also, I think she taught comparative literature at Harvard.
She did, yeah.
Okay. Yiddish literature and professor of
She's like a very intense Zionist.
Yes, I gathered that. And I'm just going to read a bit from the article and we can kind of talk as we go. So she says, I taught at Harvard from 1993 through 2014, and I don't think the federal government's threats... Sorry, actually, let me take a step back and say this article came out because the Trump administration sent a notice to Harvard saying that it had to dismantle its DEI and like the Islamic Studies department and like all this stuff, right?
So there's like a couple of steps
and address
here.
Anti-Semitism.
Harvard already did like force the head of the Middle East Center to step down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget, they had a couple other things they folded on, but then they drew the line when they were asked to do a full DEI compliance sweep.
Yeah. And then Harvard said no and is taking the Trump administration to court.
Yeah, which I'm very proud of. It's too little too late. They should have been better earlier, but I'm glad they're finally doing something. And it's worth mentioning the president of Harvard is Jewish and is being accused of anti-Semitism, which is something we keep on seeing played out.
Yeah. And so this article came out after Harvard took whatever stand it
finally.
took.
Yeah.
Although I think as recently as today, I saw that Harvard did actually start to overhaul its DEI department or DEI initiative, whatever. I don't think it's a department. Anyway, so that is happening. But anyway, so this is the context in which this particular article was written. It's like Harvard was like, no, we're not going to just
completely bend over. Well, only half bend over. Yeah.
So she says, I taught at Harvard from 1993 through 2014, and I don't think the federal government's threats will be effective at changing the university's culture. Harvard's leaders don't yet understand the danger that culture poses to the country or why it required intervention. On September 11th, 2001, the Islamists of Al-Qaeda attacked the U.S. in a suicide mission that used American planes as their instruments of destruction.
Okay, fair.
Okay. I like that she specifically says they were American planes, like the planes were just defiled.
I mean, they were.
The planes themselves, don't identify as American.
As important as the innocent lives, yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like those patriotic American planes defiled by being flown into the town.
Careful, you're going to get clipped way out of context, buddy.
Yeah. American planes as their instruments of destruction. On October 7th, 2023.
This is not the first person to do this. It is so insincere and shitty to draw a direct line between October 7th and 9/11.
Sure, yeah.
Between like a foreign attack and a very complicated internal situation.
Yeah.
Just leave it at that, yeah.
Hamas Islamists exploited Israel's openness by invading the country.
That's why they had to hop over a fence
wall,
that was keeping them.
Massacring civilians and kidnapping others. Jihadists use these new forms of warfare against those they can't conquer by force. I'm pretty sure these are not new forms of warfare, but okay, that's, again, I'm not a military strategist, but What concerns us here is their capture of elite American schools as outposts. So Hamas and Al-Qaeda have both actually joined forces.
And they're at Harvard.
They are both hand in hand. Yeah, I don't know if you know this.
I didn't. Again, I was not invited.
Even
I feel
though
left out.
the Islamic studies program is named after a Saudi guy. But anyway, we'll just leave that alone.
Just its own issue, but yeah.
Harvard became directly implicated on October 8th, 2023, when the Undergraduate Palestine Solidarity Committee issued a statement endorsed by more than 30 student groups that asserted the Israeli regime was entirely responsible for all unfolding violence. Students for Justice in Palestine declared on October 12th a day of resistance and had a toolkit ready for the encampments and demonstrations that spread beyond campus. SJP praised the Unity Intifada and resistance and declared that Palestinian students were part of this movement, not in solidarity with this movement. In 2001, there was no such support groups for Islamists at Harvard. Okay. She puts a lot of these things in quotes and like doesn't define the terms. Just to, again, I think on purpose, to her specific audience, keep them vague so that it seems scary. But like, she puts like intifada and resistance in quotes, and you're just like, if you know what they mean, you're just like, okay, well, not only is that redundant, but like also it's just kind of silly. Harvard was a soft target for foreign penetration. Ooh. A little Freudian there, right? Harvard.
A lot of military stuff is kind of Freudian.
Innocent little Harvard that's never done anything. No. Being penetrated by these foreign forces.
Damn.
Soft, beautiful Harvard.
Okay, continue.
Having developed an adversarial relationship to the American government and increasingly to the country itself, veterans of the anti-war movement banished the Reserve Officers Training Corps from Harvard in the 1970s and kept it off campus for 40 years. When memories of Vietnam faded, the military's exclusion of open homosexuals became the high-minded excuse for shutting out recruiters, but not government funding.
I like how clearly she also, like, I feel like she's implicitly saying that she was pro-Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And also, like, anti-gay people, question mark? Okay.
Yeah. She's, like, also, like, just very pro, like, family values. Like, yeah. This selective anti-government policy was reflected in the curriculum, which took an increasingly critical approach to America and Western civilization.
Western civilization is not a thing. Should we do a podcast on just that? Sure. I think I'd really like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, if it is a thing, you can't be critical of it, according to her. You just, just take it for what it is. And my session's about to expire. Continue working. Meanwhile, in the 1960s, civil rights laws that outlawed discrimination failed to satisfy those who sought equal outcomes.
These needy people looking for equality. Not satisfied.
The university responded with group preferences in hiring for women and minorities that elevated grievance.
Women, such as our current author.
That elevated grievance groups and put Harvard solidly in the activist progressive camp. With rare exceptions, there would be no more hiring of conservatives or teaching their reactionary ideas. Okay, yeah, they didn't hire fucking Alan Dershowitz. Right, like they
keep on hiring and firing Cornel West. Yeah,
they to say that Harvard doesn't have any conservatives is insane.
Yeah, no, there's plenty of conservatives at Harvard.
Yeah. What is it? I mean, they gave fucking what's his name, Sean Spicer.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I don't know. You couldn't even really call him a conservative.
Kissinger
just like the
is
Easter
a product
Bunny.
of Harvard.
Yeah.
Like, what are we talking about here? And she calls them grievance groups as if like people who are.
Wait, pause. I feel like people think about Harvard as like, for fair reason. Like Harvard sort of is emblematic of all that is elite and corrupt in this country. That includes a lot of conservatives. They actually come from pretty elite backgrounds. Like fucking Steve Bannon went to Harvard, right? Mr. like
Pete Hegseth.
Right. Yeah. It's
Donald Trump went to Penn.
Right.
Like all these guys.
They're elitists. They're part of the elite.
Elitists.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're just like playing in your fucking face. They're like, oh no, we're like looking out for you. But they hate anyone who's not them.
Yeah.
All these demonstrators lacked a common cause until they united around the handiest target in the history of civilization under the guise of liberating the Palestinians. Okay, so this is kind of what I wanted to get to here, is that she says this is the handiest target in the history of civilization. I think she's referring to
The
Jewish people, but
Palestinian
also
cause?
maybe she's no, she's talking about
Jews as being handy targets.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Because of like historic anti-Semitism.
but really when we say Jews, we mean
she means Israel.
Israelis.
Yeah.
Students who had been kept from marching for their country and warned against insulting every other minority jumped at the chance to attack a politically approved target. So somehow after October 7th, there was a political process by which it was it was declared open season on Jews.
Yeah, I mean,
Is
this is the
according
same
to her.
thing we keep on seeing of like a complete conflation between Zionism and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
And which again continues to, like, in a really creepy way, completely strip the many Jews who have been part of the pro-Palestine movement of their Jewishness.
Yeah. In a letter to the Harvard community, President Alan Garber acknowledges valid concerns about rising anti-Semitism and pledges that Harvard will continue to fight hate with urgency it demands, and what federal law requires. Harvard's record provides ample evidence against this claim. Campus coalitions for jihad count on liberal administrators to accommodate their assault.
What's Campus Coalitions for Jihad? Just making it sound like it's an official student
Yeah.
group.
No,
She just means like, oh, this is basically a council of jihadis, all
Yeah.
these different groups.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then surprisingly here, she doesn't put jihad in quotation marks. She just like expects people to know what it means. And that, all these SJP.
She's specifically not
JVP.
mentioning JVP because that's more complicated for her argument, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's see. Maybe she mentions them down here.
I think she does.
The most useful of many political functions of anti-Zionism, as with anti-Semitism before Jews returned to their homeland, is building coalitions of grievance and blame against a small nation with a universally inflated and mostly negative image. This galvanized enmity has united pan-Arab and Islamist alliance against Israel since 1948. Gee, I wonder what happened in 1948. It powered the Red-Green Coalition at the United Nations and seeds anti-Israel campus coalitions that are anti-American in all but name. Attacking only the Jews, now only Israel, is its key to becoming the world's most powerful anti-democratic ideology. The goal of destroying Israel remains central to Arab and Islamist identity, and was admitted to Harvard along with some foreign students and investors. So
Harvard does have really messy investors, but they're very ideologically diverse. Just anyone who has money.
do you think Harvard has any fucked up Israeli or Jewish investors?
Yeah, and they also have fucked up Muslim investors. I mean, the Saudi state is very invested in Harvard. The Saudi state is also generally a force for conservatism across the world and like an anti-democratic force, and has done shit to stop Israel. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I want to pause on her also saying that the goal of destroying Israel remains central to Arab and Islamist identity. And as if like Arabs and Muslims only exist to hate Israel. Like as if Israel didn't exist only 77 years ago. But also what she's doing here, because they keep switching and, you know, waffling back and forth on terms between Israel and Jew, what she wants people to substitute there in their head is Jewish.
Yeah, and as we've said many times, this idea that like Muslims and Jews are locked in some kind of immortal combat is like highly ahistorical, thankfully, and not like, if anything. Yeah, I don't want to repeat myself. Actually, I don't want to even be defensive. Yeah, it's just stupid.
Yeah.
I also wanted to kind of just highlight this idea that like Israel is a force for democracy. Like you cannot be a democracy and be an apartheid state. The terms are just like, they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah. Let's see. She talks about how she wanted to warn the the president about the Middle East Studies Center. So, 2007, I began warning successive presidents and deans that academic standards were being violated by the substitution of anti-Israel propaganda for a comprehensive program in the Center for Middle East Studies. They acknowledged the problem but refused to address it. As long as other institutions took Muslim money and ignored the war against the Jews, why should Harvard be holier than
Wow,
the
she
Pope?
really thinks that Muslim money is doing a lot there.
Yeah.
I don't even think that Saudi has invested that much in Harvard outside of the div school.
She says here that the education department reports the university received more than $100 million from the UAE, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Bangladesh between January 2020 and October 2024, which is between all those different countries, honestly, like not
that
much
much considering
money.
Harvard's endowment. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I feel like it's almost like a separate story. If you want to talk about like outside endowments, almost like a mirror of our political system, like fair enough, but like they're coming from everywhere. They're coming from Zionist sources. They're coming from,
What about the withholding of like billions of dollars from like people like Bill Ackman and others? Like, it's tired at this point, but like, could someone just like write the opposite article, be like, God forbid anyone write an article like when that happened, be like, the Ivies are controlled by like Jewish conspiracy, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, yeah,
it
it should be just as heinous both ways, but it's not, unfortunately. Like this kind of speech is like more accepted than the reverse, and neither should be accepted.
She goes on. October 7th, like Kristallnacht in 1938, forced some people to confront what they had tried to ignore. Students and faculty celebrating the atrocities against Israel could have been perpetrating them. Given a chance, a committee of the new Harvard Jewish Alumni Alliance investigated the campus hatred and found it worse than we, in quotes, found it worse than we had anticipated.
She is using quotes in a really weird
way. Too, yeah, like.
I'm surprised some editor wasn't like, hey, we just need like 50% less scare quotes.
They just like did not edit this at all. Yeah. Ideological and I love this. Ideological anti-Zionism governed not only the Center for Middle East Studies, but also the School of Public Health, the Divinity School, and figured in departments ranging alphabetically from anthropology and African American studies to she's just implicating everyone. This is a huge run-on sentence. To the Weatherhead Institute of International Affairs, and academically from music to the medical school.
She's going with the alliteration vibes.
It's just like the Center for Middle East Studies. Okay, we got it. Public health, weird. Okay, Divinity School makes sense. And then she's just like anthropology, African American studies, Weatherhead Institute, International Affairs, music, medical school. Like it's just like named every school that exists under Harvard. Harvard undertook similar review only under pressure from Congress.
Yeah, I feel like not much else to say. This lady's nuts. Like, I think thankfully, I know we're in such siloed circles, but if anything, this seemed like a hilarious joke. Like, it was just such a bold title and argument that it's hard to take it too seriously, though the Wall Street Journal is, supposedly a serious paper of record.
Yeah. So, last paragraph here that I'll read. There are still good people and programs at Harvard, and I'm grateful for my time there. In an ideal world, the government wouldn't micromanage universities. But if Harvard shirks its responsibility to shore up the foundations of America, I don't think that's Harvard's responsibility, and allows itself to be hijacked by an Islamist-inspired grievance coalition, why would it expect any support from the government?
Damn, what a sellout. She's just like, yeah, take their money.
Yeah.
Let the programs fail.
I want to point out something from her Wikipedia. In which she is quoted as saying, Weiss has been criticized for writing that Palestinians are people who breed and bleed and advertise their misery. Saying that, implying that like shame on them for
continuing to live and have children
and have families and stuff,
not dying off en masse.
Yeah. So she clearly just like views them as cockroaches, like literally no different than a cockroach infestation in your house. And she's just like, oh, why are they still here? but also, you know, rather explicitly saying things aren't as bad. Like Jews or the Israelis don't treat them as badly as they say. These people like lean into the miserable conditions that they themselves create. Because, you know, you remember like when people were saying like Gaza could have been Singapore if not for these like dirty, disgusting people and their uncivilized ways. So she's saying that they lean into their misery and they just like lead with their misery, and it's all about like, oh my God, look at us, look at us, look at us. Meanwhile, here is a fucking article in which she just like talks about how bad things are at Harvard for Jews, and just like all this anti-Semitism and all these attacks and like this hatred toward Jews that's happening at Harvard because Harvard has a Center for Middle East Studies, I suppose. And that's like what, like they just keep pointing to the Center for Middle East Studies.
By the way, the Center for Middle East Studies, like I can guarantee you, absolutely had Zionists come speak. They're just upset that they even had pro-Palestine people come speak.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's the only thing they can point to is the Center for Middle East Studies and also the Divinity School, because
there's Muslims there and they study Islam.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
well, and also because they really like nailed poor Diane Moore to the cross because she issued a statement of caution after October 7th to like not just adhere to a single narrative. It was even like a very careful statement, and they really, I mean, she lost her job.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I mean, it's worth reminding people that at Harvard, all of these like billionaires and like in conjunction with like the Zionist faculty, in conjunction with like Zionist administrators, totally okayed and just greenlit the doxing of students on campus for participating in free speech activity.
Yeah.
Right. Like they had that
those buses
doxing truck or buses that go around and show kids' faces and their names and like addresses and stuff like that. And Alan Dershowitz, who was at the law school, also used his platform to dox several students, not just at Harvard, to prevent them from getting jobs. Bill Ackman, same thing. Like all these billionaires tried to publish lists or did publish lists of students at Harvard who participated in free speech activities. And students have been attacked and some kids have been killed. And
what do you mean some kids have been killed?
I mean, not at Harvard, but like just overall, like, you know, there's what was that kid's name? Wadia. If we're pointing to instances of Jews being attacked specifically by like Palestine protesters or vice versa, right? Like, which one do we have evidence for?
Right. As we've tried to like illustrate multiple times in this podcast, like there is rising anti-Semitism in this country, but the vast majority of it is from white supremacists. And
it's exclusively from white supremacists.
Yeah.
Like, you cannot show me a single instance of a Jewish person being attacked at a
I wouldn't say that so cavalierly, because it almost, I think to overstate your argument almost kind of like makes it less powerful. Like I'm sure someone could pull up one tiny micro instance, not of like killing, but of
no,
like...
No, I'm not saying of killing, but like even, I mean, the only thing that people have pointed to was that one time that like, whatever, the student reporter somewhere just like leaned in really close and got like poked in the eye by like the tip of like someone who was waving a flag or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then they tried to spin that as an attack.
Right.
Like, I actually have not seen a single instance reported of like an actual attack, like a physical attack against a Jewish or like Zionist student. I just haven't.
Yeah.
At least not in the US. Anyway, so that's this lady. I wanted to point out just kind of like that insane double standard of being like, oh, these people are like so whiny and like they're like only talk about their grievances and blah blah blah. And meanwhile, here she is. She's got like a 500 word or 1,000 word article in the Wall Street Journal
and then like
about
as
grievances.
We've said a million times, it's just the deep irony and sadness of using genocidal language and of abetting and arguing for the continuation of a genocide against a group of people when you are talking about a legacy of your own group of people being shaped by a post-genocidal context. I mean, there's just no deeper or sadder irony.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the cockroach type language, like she's using dehumanizing language. And if you are in any way a professor of Jewish studies, that's something that you should be really attuned to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually, I want to also just like highlight that she's kind of soft launch anti-Zionist or ideological anti-Zionism as like a pejorative thing. Like it's just like, oh, they're just committed to anti-Zionism in a way that's like she's trying to make that the new anti-Semitism. So they're fully just trying to replace
so many people are doing that.
Judaism with Zionism
Totally.
in this way. I actually listened to an interview recently of Norman Finkelstein when he was in which he was like saying he actually stopped saying Zionism. He's just saying Jewish supremacy, and he's like, I think that is the more accurate term to describe what these people are actually arguing for, because Zionism, like the word, has a history that some people complicate in a way that they may use it to obfuscate like what is actually going on, like Zionism is an ideology. So like Noam Chomsky like identifies as like a Zionist because his family's like defines Zionism differently than, you know, this like state Zionism from
Chomsky's
Israel.
also his own thing though. But yeah.
Sure, but I will say I actually agree with Finkelstein in like beginning to say like, oh, fine, but like also yes, what is happening here, what is happening in Israel and abroad is an attempt to instantiate like a Jewish supremacy.
I mean, I'd have to listen to the article, or listen to the interview. But my first impulse is that would actually kind of endanger the many Jewish people who have been really fighting to be like, our Jewish identity is central to us and we are anti-Zionists. Like I feel like using the term, like I personally feel like, okay, if the very beginning of Zionism was, which I mean, even then, like the beginning of Zionism, they call themselves colonists. Like there's not that much like nuance there. But even if you had some early Zionists before the Nakba who had like an idea of a more integrated state that never came into being, you just can't use the term Zionist today with any neutrality. And I don't think anyone's trying to get away with that. Yeah. But yeah, that's interesting.
It might make more sense if like you are very familiar with like the history of the term. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, right? Like I think generally everyone knows what it refers to, but I do think that like Zionists themselves are trying to kind of like put a veneer on that term.
Yeah, of course
like,
they are, because they want to keep. Yeah. But I've heard so many Jewish activists be like, anti-Semitism is not anti-Zionism. So I just feel like that's like kind of a line that seems to be finally clicking for some people.
Yeah, perhaps. I do think I will say though, like I do think the straight up just calling it like an attempt to instantiate like Jewish supremacy is also to me compelling, because I think that hits everyone's ears and you're just like, oh, of course, like the same way that like white supremacy is like not good doesn't mean white people shouldn't exist.
Right.
It just means they shouldn't reign supreme over another people.
Like no group should be. Yeah.
Black supremacy is like an ideology that like a lot of people are just like, no, this is not what we're trying to do. Like no one would, or like Arab supremacy. Like I, as an Arab, I'm not even threatened by that term because like I also recognize that that would be horrible.
Right. Yeah.
And it does actually exist in some ways. And I'm like, this is a wrong thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
So anyway.
I'm a big fan of also like, I was just having this conversation with my class about like, there was a whole moment in academia where people were like, oh, is Islamophobia the right term? Like, would it be better to say like anti-Muslim sentiment? And I've even heard these arguments about like, is anti-Semitism the right term? You know, because like, what does it mean to be Semitic? And is that just something that's tied to Judaism? But at some point, the term that people are able to identify that is making movement building happening is the term that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, yes, language changes with time, but I feel like we saw this a little bit with like Latinx. Like people were really pushing for it and that was fair enough, but it didn't get taken up by those communities. Yeah. It wasn't doing real world stuff. And so like it fell out of usage. Like I'm no longer interested in being like, is Islamophobia a helpful term or not? Like it is the term that people recognize and it's the term that like helps you do things. I think it's good to be thoughtful and attuned to language and know the history of terms, but they also need to be like utilized practically from the bottom up.
Yeah. Interesting. do you think anyone out there is like, no, I'm no Islamophobe. I just have some anti-Muslim sentiments. That's all.
Yeah, maybe.
You know?
Yeah.
I do think that terms sometimes, though, like it is good to have terms that are more
specific.
I guess specific is a way to put it, but like terms that refer more directly to the thing that you're trying to get at, rather than one that is susceptible to like going off the rails heuristically somewhere, right? Like, because like Islamophobia, between the word being said and then the thing to which it's referring, right? Like, I think you and I probably have a similar concept of like where that term ends up referring to. But I think some people could hear it and then, it's just like, oh, Islamophobia. It's like, I'm afraid of what, do I have this like an irrational phobia?
No, that's
of whatever,
exactly
blah,
the
blah,
argument.
blah, blah,
You're
blah.
right. That scholars were making is like, oh, it's like arachnophobia. Like you're afraid of spiders as opposed to like, yeah.
But it implies like an innate, like, oh, I'm just a bad person, or like I have something wrong in my own brain that causes me to react negatively to
as
these people,
opposed to like you
rather
receive
than I have
societal
reasons
messaging. Yeah.
Yeah. Or like I have ascertained knowledge of like this group of people doing bad things, and so therefore I have made a decision.
Or yeah,
and I have anti-Muslim sentiment.
You've received like biased
Right.
accounts, right? That was kind of the argument.
So I think it's useful to clarify those terms so that they are less susceptible to those sorts of like thought processes.
The other thing about terms is that like they do have like histories, you know what I mean? So like it can be cool to learn and trace those histories, and I think that can actually be super valuable, but they're not stable in the way that they feel in the current moment. Like, people who were Zionists before Israel was created, who were arguing initially for Argentina, like that would have been an entirely different history. So like I don't think we have to like force what we mean by Zionism now to mean what someone meant before the establishment of Israel. You know what I mean? Like there's both the trajectory there, but also like that would have been a very different story. Anyway,
all right. Well,
we'll end by saying that if there is an Islamist club at Harvard, this lady was not invited.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hashtag left out. Yeah. Hashtag hard feelings.
She's definitely on about something. I'm not really sure what her deal is.
Yeah.
She's a very hateful person.
Yeah.
All right. We will be back with regular episodes.
Yes. This summer we're back to regular programming. We are locked and ready.
Yeah.
I got all my West Virginia God metaphors ready. We're loaded. We're what else? That's all I have.
We're shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
We're shooting from the hip.
Good job.
We're lock, stock, and barrel.
Damn. Turns out you had a lot more God metaphors than
me. Yeah. We did not get enough questions to do a questions episode. I really would like to.
Don't shame the people. They tried.
Good job to the one or two of you who submitted questions, but
we gotta get back to our regular programming, and then maybe we'll get some more people excited to ask questions.
It'd be good. It'd be fun.
Yeah, those are always fun.
But yeah, so we were traveling, but now we're back. We're not going anywhere because, well, that's just how our lives are right now.
We're going on short trips, like almost every month.
We'll go on short
But
trips.
Yeah, we can still do the podcast around them.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.